Let's check in now in the US to see how this has impacted some of the business there. We speak to our correspondent, Nick Harper. Nick, thank you so much for your time. We're hearing in London, for example, flights cancelled, banking and shopping apps affected. You also look at South Africa as well. One of the banks also, reporting that their ATMs were simply also giving problems when it comes to services. What has been the impact where you are?
Yeah, as we heard from Stuart Smith's report there, it is a huge problem and a global issue as well. Here in the United States, it's being felt across multiple sectors. Of course, one of the biggest impacts, the direct impact that many people are feeling, is at airports, with now hundreds of flights cancelled. Worldwide, it's about 3,500 flights that have been cancelled. The vast majority are here in the United States, with the major airlines like Delta and American Airlines feeling the problems throughout this day, with many flights just simply cancelled, others delayed. There is that real knock-on effect. And then there's problems for banks, but also for healthcare and emergency services. We know that some hospitals had to cancel surgery overnight as a result of the problem. In the US state of Alaska, at one point, they were saying that the 911 phone service that people would call if they needed the police or an ambulance or the fire brigade, that was not working throughout the state for some time. And it is really, I guess, that fact that so many people in so many areas of their lives are feeling this impact. What's being called the largest IT outage of all time. Quite incredible the ways that people are having to deal with this issue throughout the course of today here in the US.
And especially when you now listen to what you've just had to say about the impact on healthcare, one wonders how they've had to work around some of the issues.
Well, I think it has been very, very difficult because it shows, I guess, as well, how dependent, how reliant all of our lives have now become on IT and the type of systems that have been impacted by this. We know that in some hospitals, they were simply not able to access the IT that they needed. There was that Microsoft blue screen that's colloquially called the blue screen of death. So they were having to try and find workarounds on the fly. We know that fixes have now been put in place. Both Microsoft and CrowdStrike say that they have identified and fixed the problems. But the real issue is now how long all of these delays, all of these issues will continue to persist, because neither company is suggesting that even though they've identified and fixed the IT problem, they're not suggesting that everything is fully back up and running. And they're also saying that it's going to take some time, the suggestion being it could be days until everything is fully back to normal.
Have we heard from CrowdStrike at all? Because at some point the updates were suggesting that they had actually sent emails to some of their clients to say that they need to protect against, hackers and also online intruders. Have they said anything else?
Yeah, they have. In the last hour or so, they've said that all of their customers are safe in terms of hacking potentials. They seem to be saying that threat that they identified earlier has now gone away and everyone is safe. We also know that the CEO of the company has given an interview in which he has apologized to all the customers, saying he is deeply sorry for the impact that's been caused worldwide. But he was still vague in his language that he was using when asked how quickly things could return to normal. CrowdStrike, it's headquartered in Texas, in the city of Austin. They are seeing huge reputational damage today. It is a name that I guess many people might not have heard of before today. Now everyone knows about it, and they've lost billions of dollars as a result. I looked a few moments ago and they're trading on the New York Stock Exchange down about 10% at this time, which equates to about $9 to $10 billion that have been lost from the company in just a few hours of trading today.
And of course, as you mentioned earlier on, it speaks about the fragility and just how, a lot of companies are relying on the IT systems. We saw in the UK, for example, Sky News being off air for quite some time. Have we had any media houses in the United States facing an impact as well?
We haven't seen quite the scale of impact here in the United States in that sector. But it is that wide-ranging issue that I guess we're seeing. The fact that we're talking about in the same sentence airlines, banks, hospitals, emergency services, broadcasters. There are just so many sectors, so many areas, so many businesses which have been impacted as a result of this. And I guess many of them will perhaps out the back of this question the IT that they have in place. I guess there is that problem that they can't do without it, but they may be looking for ways to mitigate potential future problems. If something like this were to happen again, do they have a backup plan in place? I'm sure many companies now are scratching their heads, considering that problem and really trying to take stock of how they could deal with this problem if it were to happen at some point in the future again.
And I suppose also trying to have one up on online intruders, because they always, I suppose, Nick, get better with time, especially as they look at some of the ways in which to try and hack into some of the systems.
Well, that's right. And that's why this cybersecurity that CrowdStrike provided has been so widespread in the impact, because people need this type of software. They need to be protected from the possibility of being hacked. And in recent years, we have seen, especially as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, many more companies moving to working from home, moving to working on mobile phones, not just simply on desktops in offices. And because of that, many companies have had to increase the type of cybersecurity that they have so that their employees working from home on laptops, working from home on mobile phones, are better protected, that the things that they deal with as the part of their daily work is protected, that those secrets that they want to make sure that hackers don't get a hold of are protected. So there's more cybersecurity being introduced, which means there are more sectors, there are more companies that need it. And when something like this happens, when there's a global outage of this magnitude, we see this domino effect right across the world, but also right across multiple sectors and impacting multiple companies and therefore billions of people.
Has the Department of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure said anything?
Not that I've seen. I know that the US President Joe Biden, who is at his beach home in Rehoboth, Delaware, he's there because of COVID-19 diagnosis earlier this week. The president was briefed about it. The big problem being, of course, that both CrowdStrike and Microsoft are housed here in the United States. They have their headquarters here. He has been briefed on the situation. He's being regularly updated, we're told, on this very fast-moving situation, really to try and determine if there's anything from a government point of view that they can do, but also to make sure that there is no government impact, that nothing that they have in terms of IT is impacted as a result of what we've seen with this outage.
And I know that, of course, we're talking about CrowdStrike, but a lot of people are saying this is a Microsoft outage, and certainly not, focusing a lot on CrowdStrike, because, as you say, a lot of people didn't know about this particular company and a lot of people referring it to Microsoft. Have they given any updates in the last hour?
Well, that's it. I mean, if you are a user dealing with this issue, you are logging on to a computer, a laptop that has Microsoft on it, and therefore your finger of blame instantly goes to the company, that Microsoft blue screen of death. You're instantly thinking that Microsoft is the problem behind this. From the statements that Microsoft have been putting out, it's quite clear that they are trying to pass the buck. Yes, they were the ones who have the operating systems, but it's CrowdStrike who provides the cybersecurity software, and its update put into Microsoft machines is the real reason behind it. Microsoft very much trying to show that they have been working to identify and fix the problem, but also making it very clear in what they're saying that really CrowdStrike is the one behind this. That is the company with far less name recognition, and of course everyone is first pointing that finger of blame at Microsoft. Just in terms of the impact on them, they haven't seen their shares drop nearly as far, just about 1% down at this stage compared to about 10 to 11% down for CrowdStrike.